What's up, team? My name is Jordan Berry, and you're listening to the Kaizen Fitness Show. Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of the Kaizen Fitness Show. And on today's show we have Rosie Sievers, who is going to be talking to us a little bit more about the four walls of your health and well-being. Because all too often in circumstances in society we talk a lot about one of those walls, which tends to be the physical wall of your health and well-being, and we are talking a little bit more about the mental side as well. But that still does leave a lot of your well-being yet to be addressed. So on today's show we do have Rosie Sievers. Now she is working with two businesses within Wellington, one of those being Awhi Yoga and the other one being CoLiberate. So we're going to be talking to her about her take on the four walls of the well-being and how she is doing a bit in those spaces as well. So welcome, Rosie, to the podcast.
Thanks, Jordan.
Cool. We're just experiencing a little bit of lag on the internet, so bear with us while we deal with this. But yeah, welcome to the show, Rosie. And the first question kind of for you is, you're obviously involved in quite a bit of different areas and stuff within the Wellington region in regards to health and fitness, but what makes you passionate? What's kind of the key driving force in making you do what you do?
Good question. I think that I'm someone who's kind of always been really passionate about quite a few different things, like a jack of all passions. I've always had a lot of different interests, from kind of starting off in creativity, graphic design based field, moving into physical, spiritual, mind-body aspect of yoga, and then the mental, emotional world of mental health and working with CoLiberate and kind of the many things that run in between that too. But I think over time I've started to realize that all of these passions kind of have boiled down or have started to align into a more unified path. And I think the thing that sort of ties all of my many passions together is embodiment. I'm very passionate about, for me, myself, my own experience of being in my body and moving out into the world from that place and sharing with the world from that place. And I'm really passionate about helping others find their own paths to embodiment as well.
That's really, really cool. So talk a little bit more about embodiment. Where did this kind of idea for you come from, and how has the journey progressed? I'm guessing it's not like suddenly day one you're like going along your normal life, and then day two this is kind of something you're really passionate about. How did it kind of transgress?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when I was younger, I went through a period of really, really struggling, probably from when I was around maybe 13 to 17, 18. And I think I had some real battles with my body, and it really felt like an enemy to me on many levels. And then when in my first year of uni, one of my good friends kind of dragged me along to a yoga class. It wasn't my first ever experience of yoga, but it was kind of my first ever experience of going to a yoga class as my adult self, making a choice to go.
Yep.
And that class feeling entirely different to the way that I arrived there. And so I continued to show up, and I continued to go, and I can continue to slowly but surely build an awareness of my internal world, my internal landscape, build an awareness of my breath, which was something I'd never thought about or connected with before. And yeah, over time that has really just grown. I think in the last few years specifically, it's just continued to grow and change and evolve, and my yoga practice has really changed over time too. Sometimes it looks more like a dance practice, sometimes it looks it's kind of whatever I need to be able to move and breathe and feel connected to the physical space, which I'm living my life.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I think with yoga, it kind of in its roots, it does teach those principles of breathing and mindfulness. And I think the key part of that is people develop an awareness of kind of this exact moment in time where they are, because I think in today's world now more than ever, we've got so much going on, and we've got advertisements, and we've got, all this media and advertising all around us. And I think, perhaps for a lot of people, it's just finding that practice that kind of grounds them and makes them take stock of this exact moment in time and how precious it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think our bodies hold a lot of wisdom. I think our bodies hold so much wisdom. All of the information of everything that has ever happened to us hasn't just happened to us at a mind level, it's happened to us at a cellular level. And so if we can tap into that and bring that awareness and presence to what we're doing, then I think we can live from a space that feels a lot more honest.
So you're kind of saying that all of your experiences, they're not just kind of affecting one plane as such, they're really kind of deeply set and rooted within our very being. Can you kind of explain that thought principle a little bit more?
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. I think we don't just experience the world through our minds. We absolutely experience the world through our bodies. So our minds and bodies are constantly communicating with each other, right? Our nervous system is constantly sending signals to us about whether we're safe or whether we're in danger. And so those signals don't necessarily happen and then just go away forever. Those experiences can live like memories in our bodies. And I think through any kind of movement practice really, or any kind of conscious movement practice, but for me it's yoga, we can start to access some of that subconscious memory, or some of that experience which lives within us, which we might not necessarily logically understand it, but I think we really can access it. You might feel like a little bit of tightness in your hips, or a tightness or contraction in your chest or your spine, and that's there for a reason. It's not just there because it's there. It's there because your physical and mental and emotional body has had some sort of experience to create that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's really fascinating. It's everything kind of that affects us doesn't just affect us on that kind of one level. And yeah, it's a really interesting point you note about if you are having a certain tightness in an area of your body, it might not necessarily be physiological, but it could be due to some other stresses in your life as well. And I think an area where that's quite prevalent for a lot of people is particularly through the neck and the shoulders, and this as well. People hold a lot of stress there, but it might not necessarily be physiological stress, but just mental and emotional stress that's causing them to hold their bodies in a way that's not necessarily kind of in flow with how they should be holding their bodies. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. It's really cool. And kind of talking about yourself a little bit more, you talk about your kind of three main values as being connection, openness, and self-expression. Can you kind of explain why, out of any values in the world, why those three are so kind of important to you?
Yeah, cool. I think those three are pretty intertwined for me. I really think that every single person has some kind of unique expression to offer to the world. And I think in order to be able to offer that authentically, we do need to kind of cultivate a level of connection to ourselves, which really does come back to embodiment. connection to ourselves. And then when we're connected to ourselves, we can move from that space and connect to an external world. And then that external world is kind of like a mirror. And openness, similar. I really feel like when we are connected to ourselves, there's a level of openness that can kind of start to arise naturally. I think when I was younger, like I said, I spent a lot of time hiding or lying. So I experienced bulimia between probably like the ages of 13 and 17, I think. And,
okay.
So to protect myself, or to protect that coping mechanism, got really ingrained in patterns of hiding parts of myself, or how I was feeling, or how I was being, from the people around me. And I think sometimes being honest and being open is the most terrifying thing in the world, or it has been for me anyway at times, but it's also been the most thrilling and life-giving and connective thing. I think through being open and being honest, we can become more connected to the world around us. So I guess it's kind of hard to separate them out in a way that those three values all live really, really strongly together for me.
Yep.
But to speak to different parts of my passion, or how I want to live, or what I want to be offering and following in this world and in life.
That's huge, and I think a lot of people listening and watching this podcast will kind of resonate with that ability to be open is so difficult, because it puts us in a spot, in a place of vulnerability. Obviously, it's a lot easier to be closed off and to not let people know how we're thinking, how we're feeling. But oftentimes, those conversations we have with people and those conversations we have with ourselves, which may make us feel uncomfortable and vulnerable, they're often the pivotal moments in your life where you make real big progress if you can put yourself out there, and if you can be open and express yourself, not only to other people around you, but also to yourself. If you can be honest with yourself and have those conversations, then I think those are the times where you will notice the most amount of growth as a human. I think that's key. I think that's huge.
Yeah, that's such a good point. So often being open and being honest is about being open and honest with yourself too, and listening to the call, I guess, and following it rather than staying in the safe zone.
Yeah, that's huge. Just personally, how do you do, if you've got something that you need to say to yourself, or an action you need to take, or something is going to be really beneficial for you, but you may feel slightly vulnerable in doing that, what's kind of your process in getting through that?
I think these days I probably actually just tend to dive headfirst into things a little more with trust.
Yeah.
But I think when things are really hard, if anything's ever really hard for me, the first thing that I'll go to is my breath, and taking some space and sitting in my body and sitting with my breath. I find the physical space in my body of my hips, of my pelvic bowl, like a really helpful place to kind of anchor my awareness into, and it's a place where I feel really strong and powerful and grounded, and so that helps me too. But yeah, sometimes I will just kind of dive headfirst into things and deal with the consequences later.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's always the best way of doing things, but it's definitely helped me do things or get things done. I think when I did my yoga teacher training, I definitely felt a fear that people would judge me for kind of taking a less traditional path, or I never kind of, I I guess I was really lucky at school. I always found school really easy, and I found graphic design great for a period of time. But I think I felt like a fear that if I stopped working and living in that world, then people would think that I'd failed, or that I was choosing something else because it was too hard.
Yep.
And there was a whole lot of kind of internal assumptions from me about what people outside of me would be thinking, and I think that was probably the thing that has held me back in multiple aspects of my life many times before then.
Yep.
But I think breaking through that hurdle or that barrier that one time was enough to now be able to trust, although that chatter might come up, like, what do other people think about this? What do other people think about me? That doesn't actually matter that much, and that there's enough good people in my life that it doesn't matter what the rest of the world thinks about me, because
exactly, I'm into that.
People that I love and trust care about me.
Yeah, that's so key. That's so key. Having that support network and that key group of individuals that you know are going to be there no matter what. You can be like, that gives you strength. It's like, I don't care what anyone else thinks. Most people, are more kind of worried about themselves anyway. But as long as you've got that core group of people around you, that support network, then the sky's the limit. And I think this kind of segues nicely into some of the work you do. In particular with CoLiberate, first and foremost. Can you talk a little bit more about CoLiberate and just what's their mission statement? What are they kind of setting out to achieve here?
Yeah, cool. So CoLiberate, kind of overarching purpose or mission statement is to see New Zealand as a healthy and thriving community of support, care and equality where everyone can be themselves and belong. And we do that through creating and hosting group experiences to support people through personal transformation and through life's big transitions.
Awesome. That's really cool. And obviously, given current events with COVID-19, this could be considered one of life's big transitions or one of life's big events. So when it comes to connecting people, it's obviously extremely hard at this point of time because everyone's separated. We're all in our own little bubbles all across the country, and even families are separated and split apart, which makes it really hard for a lot of people who perhaps do have kind of mental struggles that they're going through. So how does CoLiberate kind of aim to help those people, or where can people go for that kind of support?
Yeah, I think you're really right. With the isolation and with the fear that I think comes with something like a global pandemic.
Yeah.
We are really seeing kind of a rise or a spike in distress or in people experiencing mental health challenges, and then there's the other side of that, which is anybody who's experiencing any kind of existing challenges. Seeking support or feeling supported can feel so much harder. I think at CoLiberate or with CoLiberate, we are in a really privileged position to be receiving the government wage subsidy and to have an incredible team of facilitators and wellbeing coaches. So things have been changing quite rapidly, and our something that we're really, really good at is face-to-face.
Yep.
So, of course, to not be able to offer our services face-to-face, straight away the thing there is like, oh, that's going to be hard. But the strategy has been to reach out to the team first and to make sure that everybody in the team is feeling supported and connected and has what they need in terms of check-ins, in terms of workspace, in terms of their own tools to support themselves. So we've all got wellbeing action plans that are specific to COVID-19.
Cool.
And then from that space to work together to come up with some creative solutions to take the things that we're really good at offering face-to-face online. So that's been the work of the last couple of weeks. And last week we launched a couple of new offerings online, which we're really, really excited about and have been received really well so far. So yeah, it feels exciting to be part of an organisation that has moved and responded so quickly and effectively, and to be part of or to work for an organisation that has really put its people first. Yeah, feels like a real blessing at this time.
Cool. That's awesome. Good.
Yeah.
From what I understand,
We do have some offerings. Sorry.
You go.
I was just going to say we do have some offerings online that are really great for anybody working with businesses or working from home. But then in terms of places that people can go, with things that people can, ways that people can reach out, which was another part of your question. Just want to let people know that 1737 is out there. So if you haven't heard of 1737, that's a national telephone number which operates 24/7, is free to text and call, and you'll get a trained mental health professional on the end of the line, and that's free for anyone. I recommend using that service if you are feeling distressed or alone.
Cool. So yeah, just to emphasize that point, 1737 is a number you can text or call to speak to a qualified counsellor or someone that can help you talk through your distress. It's a 24/7 service backed by the government. It's something that people can call or text in at any time. It's completely confidential. We'll make sure we put links in the descriptions and stuff so people can access that, because I think that's hugely beneficial and powerful, that people, if their support network is a little bit fragmented at the moment, that they always have that kind of line they can talk to. So that's really cool. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Rosie. I think that's a really good resource. So CoLiberate, is it more about teaching organisations the fundamental skills on how they can best address their own employees? Is that kind of more how the CoLiberate situation works?
We teach individuals how to recognise and respond to mental health challenges or mental distress or crisis, and we do that kind of through a range of different forms. Prior to COVID-19 and social isolation, our kind of main form was through mental health first aid courses, and at the moment we're offering like shorter versions of that are more focused on what people need in this kind of change of circumstances. And so most commonly we do offer those through businesses or organisations, but I'd really recommend anyone who is interested on an individual level to reach out via the website and find out what's available, because we're always interested in hearing what people need and working out new ways that we can respond to that, new solutions that we might be able to come up with.
Okay, cool. So if people are interested in learning more about mental health and how to best help their friends or their loved ones who may be going through a crisis, they can go to the CoLiberate website, and all the information regarding that will be there.
Or not necessarily all of the information on how to do that.
But the steps,
The way that we would teach it is in a supported way, as opposed to popping it all online. But there's some stuff online, and just reach out. Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. That's really cool. And moving on to the other work you do as well, you're quite busy, obviously. You do the work with CoLiberate, which is really cool, which is when we're talking about kind of the four-walled house, the whare that in the Māori people talk about, your whare having four walls and the four walls of your well-being. So CoLiberate probably focus more on that kind of minds, the mental side of things. But you also do some work with Awhi Yoga as well. So explain your role with them. You're a senior facilitator with Awhi Yoga as well. Explain your role with them and what kind of led you to that position.
So I originally did my yoga teacher training with the co-owners of Awhi, whose names are Jace and Justine, and learned a lot about them, a lot through them about myself and about yoga, and such a deep connection and pull to the community that they had created in that space, that I once I'd finished my teacher training, I asked if I could work for and with them and continue to kind of train through them, and been doing that ever since then, and am now facilitating at a senior capacity with Awhi, which means that alongside my classes I also support the community with workshops and with and on our yoga teacher training, which is one of my very favourite things to support on.
Awesome. No, I'm fascinated by how businesses and individuals inspire and grow a culture and a community and connections with people, because it's not something physical. It's not something you can look at and you can be like, okay, that's a great cultural community. It's something that every individual needs to feel, and it's not something you can hold or touch, but it's just something that you feel, right? So obviously Awhi Yoga, they offer the yoga classes and a lot of different services for people, but how else does it kind of go about supporting and nurturing this community that they've created?
I think something that I always get when I walk in the doors of Awhi, and something that I always endeavour to offer when I'm holding the space within those doors, is to really see people. So when somebody walks in the doors, I will always greet them, usually with their name, and we specifically don't have like a kind of sign-in tag system, which many studios do, and that's so that we can see people and greet them personally on their way in, and I think that makes a huge difference to feeling part of a community, and it means you kind of can't just hide and slide past the door and wander on in. It means that you really do have to connect face to face on your way in the door, and that also opens up a bit more of a dialogue for after class. So I always make myself available after class for if there's anything anybody wants to talk about, questions people want to ask, or even just a kind of a big old conversation about the meaning of life.
Yep, I'm sure that comes up.
And I think through the modelling that we do as facilitators there, that's really picked up on by everybody within the community. So people who have been coming and practicing for a long time, you often see them having a conversation with somebody who's brand new, or a cup of tea after class, and really inviting them to be part of the community too. Quite often at the start of our classes, especially our big ones, I teach a really big koha class on Sunday mornings, and I'll always start that class by asking people to introduce themselves to somebody around them, hopefully someone new. And so there's lots of little subtle ways in which we are building connection and encouraging connection always.
That is so powerful, Rosie, and I picked up on a couple of things that you said there. Obviously, the big one's names, particularly as this is for kind of all business owners and anyone involved with an organisation, or they own a shop or anything. If you can start to learn people's names, for everyone, their name is probably the most important word that they'll ever hear. People love hearing their names. They love that people kind of know who they are. It's all kind of rooted down to that sense of connection and belonging with people. So what you're saying, just as simple as remembering someone's name, learning someone's name, that is so powerful. And suddenly, if someone comes to Awhi Yoga or whatever business or organisation it may be, and they walk in the door and here's Rosie, and man, she's only met me once, but she knows my name, she knows, how many kids I have, my birthday. It's that developing that connection straight away with people that I think is so powerful, and it's so basic, but so how many businesses or shops have you been into and you walk in and the manager or whatever looks up and kind of looks back down on what they're doing, and they don't care, whereas I guess what sets Awhi Yoga apart potentially is just the fact that they're willing to invest and learn a little bit more about the people that are coming to see them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's hugely powerful. That's really cool. The other thing I love when I was doing a bit of research about Awhi Yoga is obviously they're huge on their holistic approach to well-being. You know, Te Whare, Tapa Wha, the four walls of the whare, of the holistic well-being being, you know, the body is one, the mind is another, the soul, and also, you know, the community, the connection you have with the people around you. See, that's such a huge thing. So, but what does it look like in practice? How do you fully develop and help people on that multi-dimensional level, if that makes sense?
I think often these days, like a yoga practice does just become about the physical, and it does become more of a stretch class or a gymnastics. But at Awhi especially, there's a real focus on philosophy, and on sharing what's true for you, what's real for you, what's inside of you, as a living, breathing human facilitator rather than a robot facilitator who's got everything worked out and is perfect all of the time.
Yep.
And so we're always encouraged to bring a deeper layer to our classes, so beyond just the physical. What can this physical practice help you to notice within yourself? What can it help you to notice mentally, emotionally, and what can it help you connect to at a spiritual level? So that's within the class itself, but then there are other ways that we support the community through those four walls as well. So there's the Hauora project, which is a 30-day project, which is a group, I guess, challenge, or a group weekly meeting, where every week there's a focus on a different pillar of Te Whare. So I think the first week is body, hiningaro, and then the second week, the first week is body, tinana, and then the second week is mind, hiningaro, and then spirituality, wairua, and community, whānau. And so it's a journey through those four walls or four pillars. And then alongside that, there's always other workshops coming through. There's a men's group held by one of our community members on Saturdays. And I've definitely noticed, like recently, since everything's had to go online and the studio's not been open, there's also been this real sense of a wraparound support digitally. Like the co-owners, Jace, has pre-recorded a whole lot of online yoga classes that are free to not just the Awhi community, but beyond that. And then we're doing regular Instagram live yoga classes at 10 a.m. during the week as well. I'm continuing to run my yoga koha class on Sunday, just starting this Sunday actually, so that's at 10 a.m. And that's raising money for Youthline, as it usually is.
Awesome. How cool is that? It sounds like you guys are doing so much to support not only your own community, but also anyone else who feels like that support network may not be quite so there in this time. I think I've got one last question for you, Rosie, and that is, with everything that's going on, with a lot of things going online, obviously now, when society does eventually go back to normality, which I have no doubt that it probably will eventually, it might take quite a while, but do you think people are going to interact with each other differently?
Very good question.
Just to put you on the spot.
I imagine that there will be a lot of joy in being able to reach out and embrace and physically connect with, or just within the same space even connect with the people that we know and love that we haven't seen for a long time. I've been thinking a lot about the neighbours on my street, having recently moved to a new neighbourhood, and the amount of people that kind of walk past the house that probably wouldn't have said hi in the past, or they might have, I don't know. But I've definitely noticed since this has all happened, like more people walking past and saying hi, and I've been thinking so much about how once this is over, I'd love just to go and knock on the doors of the people in our street and actually connect.
Yep.
And for some reason, since all of this has happened, that feels more tangible or more possible or more important. And then on the other hand, I'm curious about whether there might be a layer or a level of reintegration, perhaps a slight anxiety of what it is to slowly weave our way back into being around many people all at once. I don't know. I'm really curious about the ways in which we'll interact differently. I really love face-to-face connection, and I'm so grateful for the internet. I taught a yoga class this morning and afterwards came out really weighing up the costs and benefits.
Yeah.
I think it's a huge loss of connection online. You just can't do it the same, and you can't connect the same. But there was 229 people.
Wow.
Following the class this morning. It's incredible to be able to reach that many people with a practice that I care deeply about, and it's incredible to be able to just take an hour out of my day to help guide that many people into spending time with themselves and connecting to their bodies. I have some theories about how it might change, but I really don't know. I'm curious to find out, and I'm curious about how it will feel for me at a personal level too.
That's so cool, Rosie, and I truly commend you and thank you for the work that you're doing for your community and for anyone else who wants to be a part of that community. It's really positive to be hearing from so many cool individuals such as yourself that have a genuine vested interest in the people around them, and I've no doubt that you've probably changed and helped a lot of people, become better, feel better about themselves and feel more well connected and supportive. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come on the show.
Thanks, Jordan.
And lastly, how do people find Awhi Yoga and CoLiberate? Where are the best places for people to go if they want to find out more about these two businesses?
So both of them have great websites. You can just Google search either of them, Awhi Yoga or CoLiberate. And both businesses also have social media presences. So Facebook and Instagram are other places that you can go. As I said, Awhi's got quite a few yoga offerings on Instagram at the moment. So if you want to tune in for a class, you can look there.
Awesome. And just for everyone watching and listening, Awhi is spelled AWHI and then yoga, just in case you're wondering how to enter that into Google. But thank you so much for your time, Rosie. It's been awesome and a pleasure having you on. And for those of you listening or watching, make sure you check out those two businesses that Rosie's a part of. They sound really cool. It sounds like they're doing awesome work for the community. Also, if you like listening to this podcast, make sure you follow us on Instagram, and our website is www.kaizenfitness.co.nz, and our handle is @KaizenFitnessNZ. So make sure you're connecting with us. We'd love to connect with you guys, find out how you're treating yourselves in this time. We look forward to connecting with you all, and make sure you go out there, stay connected with everyone, and take care. Thank you so much for listening. Now, it's time for you to take action.